Welcome to our deep dive, and this one takes us all the way to Japan
Yeah,
to
Japan.
explore two
Right.
places that are,
Intertwined.
intertwined, Kamakura and Kumano. And we've got a really interesting mix of sources this time. We've got some like event summaries, personal narratives, and even some articles about mindful city development.
Yeah, and it's interesting to see how all of these sources are kind of revealing connections between, revitalizing these historic cities
Mm-hmm.
and fostering a sense of community. And then even we've got bees in here.
Bees.
Yeah.
Okay, now I'm interested. But so let's set the stage first in Kamakura.
Okay.
And so our sources are pointing to this movement called Mindful City Kamakura,
hmm
which aims to create a more sustainable and interconnected way of life.
Yeah, and what's interesting about that is Mindful City Kamakura, it's not just a slogan.
Right.
It's like a vision that's being driven by a network of individuals and organizations. And one group that kind of stands out as part of this is Kamakura Gathering.
Yeah.
And they're hosting events and workshops to bring people together and spark new ideas.
So it's less about like top-down urban planning,
Yeah.
and it's more of a like a ground-up movement.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And one of their recent workshops that we're looking at focused on network weaving.
Network weaving. Okay. And this was led by a woman named Carolina Carvalho.
Mm-hmm.
So network weaving. That sounds interesting. Almost like creating a like a social fabric.
Yeah.
What exactly does it involve?
Well, you can think of it as intentionally creating connections
Okay.
between people, resources, and ideas in order to catalyze positive change. And it's fascinating because Carolina's background is in environmental biology, specifically studying pollination.
Hold on. Pollination.
Mm-hmm.
Like bees.
Yeah.
How did she go from studying bees to weaving these human networks?
Well, that's the beauty of interdisciplinary thinking, right? So Carolina realized that these principles of interconnectedness that she observed in nature, how bees facilitate the flow of life between plants, this can also apply to human communities.
So instead of pollen, it's ideas and resources being shared.
Exactly.
Yeah.
She even uses the analogy of a beehive, where each individual contributes to the collective well-being.
Good.
So it's a powerful metaphor for how interconnected we are and how even small actions can create a ripple effect.
I love that analogy. But in practical terms, what does network weaving actually look like? Like, what are people doing to weave these connections?
So Carolina highlights 3 different methods in our source material.
Okay.
The first is closing the triangle. This is simply introducing 2 people you know who might benefit from connecting with each other.
That seems so simple, yet I bet we've all experienced the power of a well-timed introduction.
Right. So it's about being a connector, recognizing the potential synergies between people in your network.
Mm-hmm. What are the other 2 methods that she mentions?
The second is convening, which is bringing people together around shared interests or goals.
Okay.
So this could be a workshop like the one Kamakura Gathering hosted, or a community event, or even an online forum.
So it's about creating the spaces where those connections can emerge organically.
Exactly.
Okay.
And the third method, collaborative projects, takes that a step further by actually bringing people together to work towards a specific goal.
Mm-hmm.
This is where those unexpected connections can really flourish and lead to some tangible outcomes.
Speaking of collaborative projects, our sources also mention this fascinating initiative called Kumano Shindo,
Yeah.
which is focused on revitalizing a rural region of Japan. What's the connection to Kamakura and network weaving?
Well, Carolina is actually involved in Kumano Shindo as well.
Okay.
But the connection goes deeper than that. Both initiatives are kind of grappling with these similar challenges, like preserving traditions, engaging younger generations, and creating a more sustainable future.
And Kumano Shindo is taking a really unique approach to revitalization.
Right.
Right? It's not just about economics.
Right.
It's about restoring traditional houses and rebuilding that sense of community.
Exactly. They're involving university students,
Wow.
local carpenters, and even using sustainable building practices.
Okay.
So it's a holistic approach that recognizes the interconnectedness of social, economic, and environmental well-being.
It's fascinating how these 2 seemingly separate places, Kamakura and Kumano, are linked by these shared values and this idea of network weaving.
And what's even more remarkable is that one of the project leaders in Kumano, a man named Adam Lobel, he discovered a personal connection to the region through the project.
What?
His great-grandfather-in-law was actually the first principal of a local high school there.
Wow. Talk about an unexpected connection.
Yeah.
It's like the project itself is weaving together the past, the present, and the future. And we're only just scratching the surface here, right?
Right, we've laid the groundwork, but the truly exciting part is how these ideas are being put into action.
Okay.
And you won't believe the amazing discussions that took place at Carolina's workshop. We'll delve into those in a bit.
All right.
Yeah. So welcome back to our deep dive into Kamakura and Kumano. Before we went away, we were talking about network weaving,
Yeah.
how that's playing such a role in both of these
It
places.
really has me thinking about all the positive change that can happen when people just come together with a shared purpose.
Yeah.
You mentioned Carolina Carvalho's workshop in Kamakura. What were some of the ideas that came out of that gathering?
Well, the workshop focused on Kamakura's future as a mindful city, and the ideas were really as diverse as the participants.
Yeah, and they ranged from ethical consumption to even creating spaces that blend tradition and innovation. It's
Yeah.
quite a range, so where do we even start?
Well, one theme that kept coming up was strengthening the connection between children and nature.
Uh,
They really felt that fostering that love of nature at a young age is just crucial for Kamakura.
It makes sense. Kamakura has such beautiful natural surroundings.
Mhm.
But what were some specific ideas?
There were suggestions for creating green spaces,
Okay.
design for children's play, incorporating environmental education into school,
Right.
and even organizing community events that celebrate the seasons.
That sounds like a really great way to cultivate a sense of wonder
Yeah.
and appreciation for nature.
And it's not just sentimental value. Studies have shown that spending time in nature benefits children's physical and mental health, as well as boosting their creativity and problem-solving skills.
So investing in children's connection to nature is really a win-win for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Um, One idea that stood out to me from the source material was promoting fair trade and ethical consumption in Kamakura. What's the thinking behind that?
I think it reflects a growing awareness, locally and globally, of the impact of our consumption choices.
Yeah.
Kamakura, with this rich history of craftsmanship and artistry, could really become a hub for these ethical and sustainable businesses.
Yeah. So instead of just buying souvenirs, visitors could support local artisans and businesses
Exactly.
that are making a positive impact.
Imagine just strolling through Kamakura,
Yeah.
finding these unique shops filled with beautiful, handcrafted goods, knowing that every purchase you make contributes to a fairer and more sustainable world.
I love that picture. And it sounds like this focus on conscious consumerism is not just about Kamakura's economy.
Right.
It's about aligning with this identity of a mindful city.
Absolutely. Embodying those values in every aspect of life, from the way goods are produced and consumed to the way people interact with each other and the environment.
Speaking of embodying values, one idea that came up was creating spaces where tradition and innovation can coexist.
Yeah, one participant even used the term slow tech,
Sroka.
which is about using technology to enhance human connection and well-being
Right.
rather than distract or isolate us.
That's an interesting concept. How would that work in a place like Kamakura? It's steeped in history and tradition.
Well, imagine, instead of everyone being glued to their phones,
Mhm.
you have these communal spaces
Right.
where people can gather to share stories, learn traditional crafts, or even just enjoy a cup of tea together.
Sounds like a return to a simpler, more mindful way of life.
It's not about rejecting technology, but using it intentionally and mindfully. Someone suggested an app that would connect visitors with local artisans and their stories, so deepening their appreciation for Kamakura's heritage.
I can see how that would enrich the visitor experience,
Mm-hmm.
as well as supporting local businesses.
Exactly. And it reminds me of Kumano Shindo and how they're using digital platforms to connect with a global audience,
Right?
building a network of people connected to that region and wanting to support its revitalization.
It's really interesting how technology can bridge that gap between the local and the global.
It highlights how technology can connect people, share stories, and build community across those boundaries.
So we've got children and nature, ethical consumption, a mindful approach to technology. What else was there?
There was a lot of talk about Kamakura's role in the wider world. Many felt that Kamakura, with its history of Zen Buddhism and its emphasis on peace and mindfulness, has a really unique perspective to offer the world.
Kamakura as this beacon of mindfulness
Mm-hmm.
in a chaotic world.
Mm-hmm.
I like that.
And it's not just symbolic. People brainstormed practical ways Kamakura could contribute to global movements, from promoting peace and sustainability to fostering intercultural dialogue and understanding.
Maybe Kamakura could become a center for international conferences, retreats, or even develop exchange programs with other cities exploring mindful city development.
Exactly. The possibilities are endless, and it's inspiring that these aren't just dreams. The people who attended Carolina's workshop are passionate about making these visions a reality.
hmm
They're connecting, forming collaborations, and taking action.
That's what I love about this network weaving concept.
Yeah.
It's not just talking, it's doing. Taking those ideas and turning them into actions that can make a difference.
It's amazing how small actions can have a ripple effect.
Yeah.
And we haven't even talked about all the unexpected personal connections that came out of this workshop.
Oh, okay.
We'll get to that in a bit.
All right. So we're back, and I am still just thinking about all those inspiring ideas from Carolina's workshop.
Yeah, it was really something.
But you hinted at something even more remarkable, these unexpected personal connections.
Yeah. Yeah, it turns out network weaving isn't just about planned introductions or events.
Right.
Sometimes the most profound connections happen serendipitously.
It makes me think of that saying, chance favors the prepared mind. If we're open to these new experiences and connections, we're more likely to stumble on something amazing.
Exactly. And our sources offer some really incredible examples of this.
Yeah.
Remember those two participants who met randomly in India?
Yeah, yeah.
It turns out they had a brief encounter years ago. While traveling and had no idea, they both had these connections to Kamakura.
Wow, what are the odds? It's like the universe was pushing them together or
I
something.
know.
Yeah.
So what happened when they reconnected at the workshop?
Huh.
Well, sparks flew, but not the romantic kind.
Yeah.
They discovered they're both passionate about sustainable agriculture
Uh-huh.
and had these skills that really complemented each other.
Yeah.
They're now exploring a community garden project in Kamakura.
That's incredible. Just imagine if they hadn't attended that workshop.
Right.
That connects, I mean, who knows? And that project might never have happened.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
And it's not just projects and initiatives. Sometimes these unexpected connections lead to a deeper personal growth and understanding.
That makes sense. When we open ourselves up to new people and perspectives, it really challenges our assumptions and expands our worldview.
Definitely. And our source material mentions another participant who had lived in Kamakura her whole life, but had become a little disillusioned with the city.
Okay.
She felt disconnected from her community
Mm.
and was actually considering moving away.
So how did the workshop change things for her?
Through conversations with others, she realized she wasn't alone in her feelings.
Mm-hmm.
And she started to see the potential for positive change and felt inspired to get involved.
Okay.
She even reconnected with a childhood friend she hadn't seen in years, and now they're working together on a local initiative.
It's amazing how just a simple conversation can, reignite a sense of belonging and purpose.
I know.
It makes you realize we're all a part of this intricate web of connections, even if we don't always see it.
And that's what makes network weaving so powerful. It's about recognizing those connections, nurturing them, and understanding how our actions can have a ripple effect.
It really is a humbling thought, right? That our choices and interactions can even make a difference in someone else's life.
Absolutely. And as we conclude our deep dive, I want to leave you with this question. What unexpected connections are waiting to be discovered in your own life?
And how can you be a network weaver in your own community? Maybe it's introducing two friends who share a passion, attending a local event, or just striking up a conversation with someone new.
Who knows what could emerge from those small actions?
It's an exciting thought. And with that, we'll wrap up our exploration of Kamakura and Kumano and the power of connection.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us, and until next time, stay curious and stay connected.